Welcome to the Week 5 Fantasy Football Goon podcast. I'm Joe Mandel, the Goon, and I'm here with my close colleague and good friend, John Santucci, who I like to call Tooch. Tooch, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Joe. Good to be back talking about Week 5 Fantasy Football.
Heck yeah, man. Well, we got it starting up right about now. You got the Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers.
Game is going on as we speak.
The long-awaited matchup of Drew Stanton and Blaine Gabbert.
All right. So who do you like in this game, Joe?
Well, you don't have... you've got no Carson Palmer, so you got Drew Stanton, who is actually a better backup than I give him credit for. But I still think the Cardinals pull it out probably by a field goal or so, I'd say.
I took San Francisco in this game. I'm not as high on Drew Stanton as you, but... the San Francisco defense is better than expected. The Arizona defense also very good. Arizona defense, number 4 fantasy defense after 4 weeks. They are number 7 versus the pass, number 20 versus the rush. San Francisco is the number 14 fantasy defense. They are number 13 versus the pass, but they're 32nd versus the rush. So you got to imagine David Johnson should go nuts today.
Yeah, I love David Johnson in this game. I have him ranked at number 2 at running back, so clearly a must-start guy.
Carson Palmer out definitely hurts Arizona. You have Larry Fitzgerald leading a trio of really good wide receivers. Number 13 fantasy wide receiver after 4 weeks. He is 39 targets on the year, which is good for tied for 7th overall. And then John Brown, you've seen ascending. He's got 34 targets now, and he is tied for 11th overall, and he was battling a concussion, I think.
Yeah, I mean, besides Larry Fitz, I mean, the receivers in Arizona have been incredibly inconsistent this year.
That's probably due to the bad offensive line.
Yeah, that's terrible.
And David Johnson, he is the number 4 fantasy running back after 4 weeks. Hasn't had the catches that you expected out of him, but some people drafted him, really high. Only 14 receptions on the year, no receiving touchdowns.
I expect that to go up significantly tonight with Carson Palmer out of the game.
He's getting averaging 16 carries a game. You got to think in this game his carries should go up exponentially.
Yeah, it's another reason he's a must-start. On the 49ers, I mean, is there anyone that you think is even worth starting in this game?
Just Carlos Hyde, in my opinion, unless, you're thinking of taking a flyer on the San Francisco defense against Stanton. Carlos Hyde, the number 8 fantasy running back after 4 weeks. Doesn't seem like he's done that much, but he's carried the ball 73 times, 300 yards, 5 touchdowns. Caught the ball 7 times on 8 targets.
Yep, and then, but besides Hyde, I mean, the only other person that I would consider taking a flyer on is Jeremy Curley, who's been a target machine this season.
Yeah, he has 32 targets, which is tied for 13th overall, but he does have an ankle injury. He was questionable. I just turned the game on now, so I don't know whether he's out there or not.
Yeah, but since this game is already rolling, I feel like we covered it. So let's get on to some of the Sunday matchups. What do you say?
Yep.
Well, leading off is my game I'm looking forward to the most. You got the Patriots at the Browns, the return of Thomas Brady.
Absolutely. Defense has been much maligned. It's the number 19th overall. The 24th versus the rush and 16th versus the pass, allowing 260 yards per game. Of course, they haven't really faced anyone like New England, whose offense revolves around the pass.
Yeah, and that offense, I think, is going to look completely different. I mean, I have Tom Brady ranked number 1 just because I imagine he's going to have some fire coming back from the suspension. Other Patriots that you can start, LeGarrette Blount's questionable, but I think he's going to play. I have him ranked in top 10 running back, just for the sheer amount of carries that they're going to have against a run defense that's just basically mediocre.
He's got a hip injury. He's getting about 22 carries per game, which you'd like to see. He's got 4 touchdowns, over 350 yards on the ground. Not really involved in the passing game. You got to think Julian Edelman finally finds the end zone now that Brady's back.
Does Gronk find the end zone?
I'd like to wait and see, but I got him on one of my teams, and Got no choice but to start.
I mean, I think this is
keep my win streak going.
I think this is the week Gronk turns it around. I mean, if there's no better team for him to start his season going than against the Cleveland team when his buddy Tom Brady's back under center.
Right, Cleveland is number 16 versus the Packers up middle of the pack. Martellus Bennett is the number 5 fantasy tight end after 4 weeks. 15 receptions, 1 touchdown, 20 targets. That's tied for 9th overall among tight ends.
Yeah, and I expect him to thrive now, especially with Brady, because you know how good they were when they had Hernandez and Gronk in the same 2 tight end set. So I imagine more of the same the rest of the year.
Yeah, it'll be great to see Brady back in action. Question for you: Gronk has a phenomenal week. Do you sell high?
I think it's tough to sell high on Gronk because his stock is so low. If he has a great week and someone really wants to overpay for him, then by all means move him. But later towards the end of the season, you may regret it because, well, you know how good he can be when he's good.
Over the years that he's been a fantasy giant, 73% of fantasy rosters have had Gronk on their winning roster. Useless tidbit.
Yeah, he's been a valuable piece to a lot of championship runs.
How about on the Cleveland side?
There's really only 2 guys that I'm interested in starting on the Cleveland side. Isaiah Crowell has been very impressive at running back. The guy he's been scoring touchdowns and racking up the yards. I'm actually really, really impressed with him to start the year.
Would you believe it if I told you he was the number 6 fantasy running back after 4
I would absolutely believe it. He has looked phenomenal on the field. Too bad the rest of his team's not as good.
Right, 61 attempts, 394 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's also got 6 catches on the year on 8 targets.
Yeah, I mean he's doing it all for them right now, and another guy that's doing it all for them, who when literally one game did it all for them, is Terrell Pryor. He's the only other Brown I'm interested in starting. I have him ranked 22 at wide receiver. I think he's going to have a nice game against the Patriots.
Right, he burst onto the team, and now he's the number 16 fantasy wide receiver after 4 weeks.
Which is amazing coming from a guy
40
that
targets already, which is good for number 6 overall.
Wow.
Well, New England is number 20 versus the passer. They can be passed on. They're giving up 264 yards per game, although I think Cody Kessler is starting this game, if I'm not mistaken.
Everyone's all dinged up over there.
Yeah, Duke Johnson is usually involved in the passing game. He's had 25 targets, only 18 catches so far. He hasn't really had the catches and targets he had last year.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like his matchup, so I got him ranked at number 29 just based off of a gut feeling. I think he might be able to break a long one versus New England in some broken coverage or something, but he could be a bye-week
Corey
guy.
Coleman is out with an injury. I'm not sure which injury he has.
Well,
Gary Barnidge is 20 targets only after bursting onto the fantasy scene last year. The owner's a little disappointed he has not found the end zone yet.
Yeah, he's been a big disappointment this year for sure. So I have him ranked very low. I have him ranked at 15th. So if you have another option like a Jason Witten or like a Cameron Brate, I would go with guys like that.
Can't argue with that.
Let's move on to the next matchup.
All right.
We have the Eagles at the Lions. The red hot Carson Wentz going against Matthew Stafford.
So you got Detroit. They're having a little trouble with their running game. I think Dwayne Washington is banged up. They've had to rely on Theo Riddick,
who is not an every down back. He's not an every down guy.
Philadelphia, their defense is having a bit of a resurgence this year. Defense is the number 7 fantasy defense after 4 weeks. 10 sacks, 3 interceptions. Number 3 overall versus the rush, only allowing 71 yards per game, and they're number 6 versus the pass, about 200 yards per game. So Detroit might have a little bit of trouble in this game. I took Philadelphia to win outright.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a blowout.
Marvin Jones also questionable with a foot injury for Detroit. He's been pretty much their best player on offense.
He was questionable last week, so I expect him to play again. I had him ranked number 1 last week, and he burned me because he got shut down pretty good. I have Marvin Jones ranked 13th this week.
Right. Jones, number 4 fantasy wide receiver after 4 weeks, 36 targets, which is good for 9th overall. Theo Riddick has had 26 targets, 20 catches, not exactly as much as last year. You've got to figure with Philadelphia's excellent run defense that Detroit will be passing a lot in this game. Maybe Golden Tate, this is his week.
He's been bad. He's been terrible.
Offensive coordinator Jim Bob Cooter has said he wanted to get Golden Tate involved this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to try everything and anything to get that offense going. They looked so good the week before, and last week they just looked absolutely lost. So, I mean, Matthew Stafford, they know he's going to be throwing. So, I mean, I have him ranked in the middle of the pack at quarterback. I have him ranked number 11 behind guys like Andy Dalton and Carson Wentz, who I think have better opportunity in their matchups.
Right, Carson Wentz has been really good this year. 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Hasn't really had the fantasy production you like out of your starting quarterback, but Philadelphia is 3-0. So,
yeah,
on offense, it's a mixed bag. You have three running backs contributing, 2 wide receivers, two tight ends contributing. The best play is Philadelphia's defense this week.
Yeah, they're going to definitely put up some points. And another guy I really like on Philadelphia against that Detroit defense is tight end Zach Ertz, who looks like he's finally getting close to being 100%. And I think he's going to get a lot of targets in this game.
He's had a rib injury, only 7 targets on the season. Number 41 fantasy tight end after 4 weeks. Owners who drafted him a little bit disappointed for waiting for him to get back on track. I imagine against Detroit's number 21 pass defense, this could be the week for him.
Yeah, I think this is the week for him for sure. If not, then I'd probably lose a little bit more faith in him. The other top target machine on that Philadelphia offense is Jordan Matthews, a wide receiver who no matter who's throwing him the ball, he seems to be doing good.
On Detroit, Eric Ebron has an ankle and a knee injury, and I think he's doubtful. He's the number 9 fantasy tight end overall.
Yep, he was questionable when I did my rankings yesterday, but now he's listed as doubtful. So I'll pull him out of my rankings and move Cameron Braid up to number 10.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know who else. I don't think you want to start another tight end in Detroit, so I would pick from some of the lesser-known guys like a Jesse James or a Clive Walford, people who have opportunity but are going to be openly available on your wire.
Back center get a start this week? Washington?
Could. I mean, he could. I don't have him ranked, but
we've heard about him for a couple of years now. Hasn't done much.
Yeah, I mean, opportunity comes everyone's way eventually, so maybe he'll prove us wrong.
Right.
But let's move on to our next matchup for this week. Our hometown Bears against the Colts.
Hometown Bears, are we moving on there?
Yeah, I like their chances against the Colts, a team that's just an absolute flux right now. Can't get anything going offensively or defensively, really. I like the Bears' chances against the Colts. I mean, Andrew Luck has been running for his life, and that defense has been absolutely horrendous.
And the Bears' defense is on a little bit of an uptick.
Yep.
They're the 23rd fantasy defense after 4 weeks. Still, they're number 8 against the pass overall, only allowing 210 yards per game, number 26 versus the rush.
Yep, they've much improved the last couple weeks, while the Colts defense seems to be in the opposite direction.
Yeah, the Colts defense, number 32 fantasy defense after 4 weeks. Number 18 versus the run, 24th versus the pass. They have to put it all together. Seems Andrew Luck has been running for his life.
Yep, I have Andrew Luck in one of my leagues, and I'm very concerned, as most owners should be.
He's he's got a shoulder injury. I think he's questionable for this game. Although you got to imagine he's going to suit up anyways to play.
Yeah, because they need a win really badly. With that said, with that Colts defense being so bad, you can do much worse than starting a Brian Hoyer, who's been actually pretty good, surprisingly good the last 2 weeks.
Back-to-back 300-yard games, no interceptions, 4 touchdowns. He's the number 25 fantasy quarterback overall, so he's got a good matchup this week. Definitely worth a stream if your main quarterback is on a bye.
For sure, but you do have to note, though, that he will be out without Kevin White, who the Bears placed on IR yesterday with a fractured tibia.
Right, he was starting to come around. 36 targets in 4 games, which, you got to like. He had yet to find the end zone, but you got to imagine Alshon Jeffrey is still out there, although he is a bit banged up with a knee injury.
He is. So that's another reason that I really love Eddie Royal this week. A guy who's available in like a really high amount of leagues. I have him ranked at number 26 against that Colts secondary. Royal's really good out of the slot, and he looks like he's healthy, which is a big thing for him because when he's healthy, he can be really good.
He's got 2 touchdowns and one punt return touchdown, although he was listed with a calf injury today and listed as questionable. And Zach Miller also banged up. He's got a rib injury, although he is likely to play it as well. He's the number 7 fantasy tight end after 4 weeks. He's got 3 touchdowns already on the year.
Yep, he's a big, tall target, gets a lot of red zone targets, and I expect Hoyer to look his way quite a bit in this game. On the Colts,
guy everybody is talking about is number 24 on the Bears, though.
Yeah, Jordan Howard, baby. I have him ranked number 8 at running back against, again, this terrible Colts defense.
Yeah, he looks to have another solid performance. After 4 weeks, he's got over 250 combined yards, and he's only really played 1.5 games. So if you were fortunate enough to pick him up, as I was too, you got to insert him into the lineup in this matchup.
Must start this week. I expect him to go well over 100 yards with at least a touchdown.
Yep.
On the
How about Indianapolis? Anybody on that side of the ball you like?
I like T.Y. Hilton in this game. I have him ranked number 5 at wide receiver. I expect him to probably tear up that Bears secondary if Andrew Luck has anything more than 2 seconds to throw the ball. I expect T.Y. to have a long touchdown and probably go over 100 yards in this game.
Yeah, that's right. It looks like he's finally fully healthy. His 44 targets on the season is tied for 3rd overall. He's got 2 touchdowns to go along with that. He's the number 11 fantasy wide receiver after 4 weeks, and he's a must-start every week.
Oh, yeah, he's the guy there in Indy. Besides him, I mean, Frank Gore I've ranked number 17th at running back. A guy who's going to get a lot of carries, but probably not that many yards. Maybe a goal line carry to get a touchdown. I mean, you could do much worse, but I don't love Frank Gore this week.
Well, Chicago number 26 versus the Rush, allowing 123 yards per game. So I imagine Bears will be getting a healthy dose of Frank Gore with Josh Ferguson coming in on 3rd down. Frank Gore, number 17 fantasy running back after 4 weeks, found the end zone twice. Done some damage in both the running and the passing game. He's got 253 yards and 2 touchdowns off the ground, 66 yards and 1 touchdown reception, 18 targets through 4 weeks. But Frank Gore, as old as he is, still getting it done.
Yeah, I mean, he's, for where he was drafted, he's doing the job that he has to do. Along with the rest of that Colts offense, I mean, Philip Dorsett could be worth a flyer at wide receiver. I know he had a touchdown last week.
I'm wondering if the Colts have decided on a tight end yet. Both Jack Doyle and Dwayne Allen both finding the end zone. Doyle with 2 touchdowns, and Dwayne Allen with 1 touchdown.
Yeah, that's been a frustrating situation over there. Right now, I find it hard to really start either of those guys just because you don't know who it's going to go to. I mean, I have Dwayne Allen ranked number 17, but you can do much better this week with a lot of other guys.
Absolutely. You don't know who to start there.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of points scored probably in this game, I would imagine. There'll be a good fantasy game to watch this week.
I think so. I think you're going to see around 50 points scored in this game.
Yeah, I would imagine. Another game. Go ahead.
The wide receivers opposite T.Y. Hilton, Moncrief out with a shoulder injury.
Yep.
And Philip Dorsett, he hasn't done much, 9 receptions on the year. He's got 1 touchdown and 215 yards on 9 catches, but for the most part, he's been invisible.
Well, if Andrew Luck has a little bit of time, that might change.
That would help.
Speaking of a game that's probably going to be high scoring as well, you have the Titans at the Dolphins. DeMarco Murray and company facing off against probably Arian Foster, who's looks like he might suit up for this game.
Right, he's questionable with the groin injury. Has been a disappointment so far. Only 16 rushing attempts, 47 yards, not even 3 yards to carry, and he only has 3 catches. I'm not sure it'll be that high scoring of a game, although you'd think it would be. It's just every time you think Miami is going to have a big scoring game, at halftime you see like a 3-6 score.
Yeah, I mean, I think Adam Gase probably had a long, hard talk with his team this week. I imagine they're going to come out probably a little feisty, hoping they can score some points. Maybe Foster finally gets it going. If he's going to get it going, I mean, it might as well be against the Titans. Well, he has to play first, but as long as he's active, I expect him to. I don't know if he's going to have a great game, but I expect him to have a decent game.
Right. Jarvis Landry, of course, he's a must-start every week. He's the number 77 fantasy receiver.
Yep.
After 4 weeks. 45 targets, which is good for second overall. Other than that, boy, there isn't a lot. Devontae Parker,
and non-existent
so far. Still waiting for him to come around.
Kenny Stills has been okay, but again, he's so inconsistent.
Yeah. Defensively, Miami is climbing. They're the number 16 fantasy defense. Although they're number 29 versus the rush, and they can be run on.
I expect.
So DeMarco Murray looks to have a big game in this one.
Yeah, I have him ranked number 5. I think he's going to go off. He's going to score probably 2 touchdowns, go probably close to 100 yards.
He's really the only good thing over there. Delaney Walker's disappointed. The wide receivers are number 64 and number 70 overall. DeMarco Murray is the number 1 fantasy running back after 4 weeks. So people who drafted him are very happy.
Yes,
they have. He's done it on the ground and through the air.
Yeah. I mean, I really thought Derrick Henry was going to take a step forward this year and kind of have a nice 1-2 punch, but that's been DeMarco Murray's backfield, man.
Yep. Marcus Mariota been very disappointing. 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
Yep, I don't want to touch him.
If at all, does this guy, put up a decent game?
Yeah, I would be hard pressed to start him at all. Just he's been so terrible.
Unfortunately, one of my leagues I'm forced to play him due to Carson Palmer's injury.
Oof.
And there being no other quarterbacks out there except for Drew Stanton.
Well, I think I don't know. I got Stanton ranked higher than I have Mariota this week, but it's probably potato at this point.
Right. Miami number 22 against the pass, so I did go for the matchup against that defense with little choice.
Sure.
Delaney Walker, of course, he's been injured a little bit and banged up. Only 11 catches in 4 weeks and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, it's getting hard to trust him.
Without many tight ends out there, he's probably still one of the better starts out there. The number 16 fantasy tight end after 4 weeks.
Yep, I have him ranked at number 5. You can do much worse, but he's going to get targets, so at least you got that going for you.
Yeah, he's due to break out. I'm hoping it's this week.
Well, it's a good time. Away at Miami, he could do good things.
Right.
Staying on the East Coast, you have the Redskins at the Ravens. A game that I expect to also be high scoring, as well as have a lot of tight end action. I like the tight end matchup in this one. Jordan Reed versus Dennis Pitta.
He's been fantastic. Number 2 fantasy tight end after 4 weeks. 25 catches, 263 yards, and 2 touchdowns on 35 targets. That's good for second overall.
Yeah, that's that's what you expected when you drafted a guy like Jordan Reed. The bigger surprise out of those two would be Dennis Pitta, a guy that most people didn't draft going into this year.
Right, he's got injury history. He's your number 8 fantasy tight end after 4 weeks. 29 targets, 21 catches, 200 yards. Hasn't found the end zone yet. His targets are tied for 4th overall among tight ends.
Flacco loves him. I love Flacco. I think I got him ranked number 13 this week, but there's a lot of good matchups, so you can do much worse than starting a Joe Flacco against the Redskins.
Okay, Washington, number 25 versus the pass. They're giving up 280 yards per game. Baltimore, on the other side of the ball, has been really good on defense. They are number 12 fantasy defense overall. Number 5 versus the rush, only giving up 80 yards per game. And number 3 versus the pass, only 176 yards per game. I took Baltimore to win this game outright.
Agreed. So did I. I because of their run defense, that's why I have. That's why I have Matt Jones ranked so low. I have him ranked at number 21. I think he's going to have a tough time going against that Baltimore run D.
Yeah, he's not going to find much room. However, he is the number 20 fantasy running back after 4 weeks. He's got 267 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's better than he's seen. As you think, most of all, he hasn't done much. We haven't heard from him, but quietly he's got 2 touchdowns.
Yep. If he can keep that going, that their schedule will get a little bit easier throughout the year. So, could be someone to target if you can get them for cheap in a trade.
So we need to spend a couple minutes talking about the Baltimore backfield.
Yeah.
And the 4-headed monster.
Well, Justin Forsett was released by the team just earlier this week. So now this becomes mostly a Terrence West run backfield. A guy who I think is going to be a top 15 back the rest of the way.
Right. In limited time, he's become the number 30 fantasy running back after 4 weeks. 232 yards and 1 touchdown. Not really a guy who catches the ball out of the backfield. That guy is Kyle Juszczyk. He's their pass receiving back. He's got 10 catches already, 13 targets. That's tied for 14th overall among running backs.
Yeah. It's pretty impressive.
Kenneth Dixon, we're still waiting for him to make an appearance.
Well, they say he's going to be the back of the future, but, it's been Forsett putting on the show lately. I mean, it's been Terrence West putting on the show.
Right, for now it's Terrence West, and against the Washington number 30th ranked defense, giving up 133 yards per game on the ground. You got to like Terrence West. Yeah,
and Terrence West last week against Oakland ran 21 attempts for 113 yards, averaging 5.5 yards a carry with a touchdown last week. I mean, you got to love that.
Yeah, if you've got him and you need a running back, he'd be a great start this week.
Yep, he was available in most of my leagues. I picked him up in 2 out of my 3 leagues, and I am starting him in every league that I own him this week. I think he's going to have a really nice game.
At the Baltimore wideout, Steve Smith, the ageless one, already the number 20 fantasy wide receiver, 24 receptions on 37 targets. He also found the end zone last week, finally.
Yeah, Steve Smith and Mike Wallace. I like them both this week in this matchup.
Mike Wallace already 3 touchdowns. Only 14 catches on 28 targets. He's tied for 16th overall. He's the number 27 fantasy wide receiver.
Yeah, he's been a surprise. Smith as well. I mean, no one really expected much out of Steve Smith in his final season, but he looks like he's finally turning it on.
Well, I really like him in this game. Washington giving up 280 yards per game passing.
Yep, look for Flacco to go deep. I also like, on the other side of the ball, Kirk Cousins going against that Baltimore defense. They're going to throw the ball a lot. Like we mentioned earlier, Jordan Reed's been fantastic. You've got Deshaun Jackson, who's been pretty good. And also in competing for some targets over there. God, why can I not think of his name right now?
Yeah, Baltimore is number 3 against the pass. About the only guy I like over there is Jordan Reed. However, with this being kind of a rivalry,
Yep.
these two cities are right next to each other. Anything can happen.
Yep, I expect it to get a little bit chippy. Deshaun Jackson will probably get in someone's face and start shouting, but
Josh Norman is also a bit high-strung.
just a little. But
Right on. So how about Houston and Minnesota?
Houston, Minnesota. Could be a nice defensive game, I'll tell you that.
Absolutely.
Got no J.J. Watt, but I still got Jadeveon Clowney.
Yep, it doesn't matter. Houston, number 8 fantasy defense after 4 weeks. They're number 1 versus the pass, only giving up 162 yards per game. They can be had on the ground, number 27 versus the rush, but Minnesota doesn't really have a running game.
Not right now, and then you got Lamar Miller, who's been good but not amazing. I expect him to get involved quite a bit in this game.
Yeah, it's going to be, I imagine, a low-scoring game. Minnesota, the number 1 defense overall. Number 8 versus the rush, only allowing 82 yards per game. And number 9 versus the pass, only allowing 223 yards per game. Brock Osweiler been a little bit of a disappointment. 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions on the season. And DeAndre Hopkins has definitely felt that.
Oh, for sure. People know that they're going to be throwing to him, and the only other guy that's been able to make the opportunity is Will Fuller, who's actually looked really good for a rookie.
Will Fuller's been fantastic. He's the number 8 fantasy wide receiver overall. If you drafted him, you're feeling pretty good. 19 receptions, 323 yards, 2 touchdowns on 34 targets, averaging almost 9 targets a game. He's also got a return touchdown.
Yep, and his targets will be there in this game, but I have him ranked really low. I have him ranked at number 39 just because he's going against that stout Minnesota secondary.
Right. Minnesota's defense very good. Houston's defense also very good. This game's in Minnesota, though. I kind of like the Vikings outright in this one.
Yep, I'm expecting them to have no problem with the Texans. Still remain undefeated. And, that defense has been a powerhouse. For where people drafted them, they've been scoring quite a bit of points.
On the Minnesota side of the ball, Cal Rudolph, the number 3 fantasy tight end after 4 weeks. 19 receptions, 227 yards, and 3 touchdowns on 33 targets. Good for number 3 overall. He's got a shoulder and rib injury. Is he a must-start, Joe?
He's become a must-start. If you have him on your team, I mean, the only guys that you're going to start in front of him are guys like Jordan Reed, Greg Olsen. Besides that, I'd roll with Kyle Rudolph. He's been heavily targeted. Sam Bradford loves him, and he's come down with some tough catches. So he's a guy that I've been waiting to break out the last 2 years, and I think now that he has a good quarterback, I think it's his time to shine.
Yeah, before the season, if you said, hey, Kyle Rudolph will be a must-start tight end for your team if you have him, I wouldn't have believed you.
I would have called you a liar. But
other than that, on Minnesota, Stephon Diggs got a groin injury. He's been pretty good. He's the number 9 fantasy wide receiver after 4 weeks, but I don't expect anything from him this week.
No.
With the groin injury.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs, I mean, for as good as he has been dealing with that groin injury, I have him ranked at number 24. I just don't expect him to go off like he has been. I think that they'll probably lean on Kyle Rudolph a lot in this game. Probably have a running back quartet in the backfield. You have Asiata. I think you'll see a little bit of Ronnie Hillman, some Jerick McKinnon. I just think it's going to be kind of hard to pinpoint anyone besides Kyle Rudolph that's really going to shine in this game.
Right. There isn't much to start on Minnesota offensively. Stephon Diggs leading the team in targets with 34, surprisingly. You'd think it'd be Rudolph. He's got 33 targets, though. So they're about equal. Matt Asiata, 22 carries, only 48 yards.
Yeah, it's been tough
really
sledding.
Just the goal line back right now.
Yep, he's a guy that I really thought was going to take the reins and run with it, but he hasn't had much success, and I think it's hard to go with either of those running backs right now. McKinnon is the more explosive guy. So if you're really stuck...
It might be an all-right start if you're desperate. I wouldn't shy away from it. Houston's number 27 versus the run, giving up 125 yards per game. So McKinnon, I guess, would be an all-right start this week.
Yeah, McKinnon I've ranked at number 19. So if you're stuck, you got guys on a bye week, he could be a guy with some upside.
Absolutely. I don't think I'd start either Osweiler or Bradford this week.
Nope.
Unless I had to.
I'm not touching either of those guys. Much better options available.
Yep.
So let's move on to the next game. You have the Jets facing the Steelers. Big Ben against Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to love Pittsburgh in this one. This team is definitely on the rise.
They looked amazing last week.
Yeah, they're an offensive machine. This should be a high-scoring game. Let's see. The Jets are number 26 versus the Pats. But they have been very good against the run. They're number 2 overall, only allowing 70 yards per game. So Ben Roethlisberger is going to have to throw to win this game. Actually, Pittsburgh's number 4 versus the rush. This should be a lot of passing as Pittsburgh's 30th against the pass, giving up 316 yards per game. So both Fitzpatrick and Roethlisberger should be pretty good starts this week.
Yeah, I mean, Big Ben I have ranked at number 5. Antonio Brown ranked at number 1, so I imagine those two will hook up a lot. Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think he's got the potential to have a good game. I think Matt Forte is going to get involved in this game quite a bit. I don't have Fitzpatrick ranked in my top 20, but I have him just outside. I have him ranked number 21. You can do a lot worse, but I just don't trust him after the 5 interceptions a couple weeks ago.
He's got 10 interceptions on the season already.
In week 5.
Although you might see 700 yards passing combined between these two teams, though, in this game. You got to love Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell.
Both guys I have ranked number 1, Bell and Brown. Marshall,
Anunwa, and Decker. Even Austin Jenkins would be a good start as well.
Yeah, Safarian Jenkins, they picked him up to be a guy that they can rely on. So I'm waiting to see what he does before I pick him up.
Yep.
But I really do think that he's a guy that you can trust going forward. But wait and see on him. We'll probably be talking about him next week.
When does Martavis Bryant come off?
Martavis Bryant has been suspended for the whole season, so we will not see him at all. So that's a guy we can take off the fantasy radar.
Right. Let's scratch him off. I wouldn't start either of these defenses unless I had to.
Nope.
They're both going to light it up. I think you're going to see close to 60 points scored in this game.
Yep. If you're a betting man, I would bet the over.
Yep. Absolutely. I like Pittsburgh to win outright, though.
Same. I expect it to be a high-scoring game, but a fun game to watch. So I'm looking forward to watching this one.
Yeah, how good was Le'Veon Bell? 18 attempts, 144 yards.
Yeah, he looked
He
great.
kept his 34 yards. Close to 200 combined yards last week on his first game after work.
Yep, not too shabby for a guy that I thought was going to be a little rusty.
Right.
But hey,
Quietly, Jesse James, the big man, 2 touchdowns already.
Jesse James, a guy that I called out a few weeks ago on the Fantasy Football Goon website, saying that he was a sleeper that you guys should target because he's trying to fulfill the role of Heath Miller, and he's doing a pretty darn good job of it.
Oh, yeah.
He may not be the blocker that Miller is, but he's catching passes like he was. So, so if he's still available, definitely worth the pickup.
How about a game I'm really interested in, too, from a fantasy perspective? Atlanta at Denver.
It's going to be very interesting. One of the top offenses in the league against the top defense.
Correct. Yeah.
Matt Ryan went bananas last week, but I'm not expecting a whole lot from him this week. I think he's going to get a dose of reality. Matt Ryan, I've ranked number 17th, or 16th, excuse me.
So would you believe it if I told you that Matt Ryan was the number 1 fantasy quarterback after 4 weeks? 11 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
I would believe it, especially because he put up majority of those numbers last week.
He's been awful good. This week, I think that kind of comes to an end against Denver's number 3 fantasy defense. Denver 17 sacks on the season already. 5 interceptions, 2 touchdowns already defensively. The number 22 versus the rush they can be run on, but they are number 2 versus the pass, giving up only 169 yards per game.
Yeah, I imagine Matt Ryan will be running for his life in this game.
Right.
But
they're going to have to get something going on the ground. Devin Coleman, I think, is injured. Kevin Coleman. Sorry.
Yeah, he is, but I believe last time I checked he was questionable, but he could be a guy that if he's out, then...
I think he might be out. But interestingly, Devontae Freeman and Kevin Coleman are your number 12 and number 13 fantasy running backs after 4 weeks, so about equal. Julio Jones, your number 1 fantasy wide receiver after 4 weeks.
Well,
He's already got almost 500 yards, 3 touchdowns. His 35 targets are tied for 10th overall.
Keep in mind, he took 300 of those yards last week's game alone. So it's a little bit of a skewed stat, but very, very good receiver regardless. I expect him to keep it going against Denver, even though I think Ryan's going to have a tough week. I still think Julio Jones can go over 100 yards with a touchdown.
Right, they'll be facing that fierce Denver pass rush. Even with that, Julio Jones is still a must start.
Yeah, I mean, you drafted him as a number 1 pick, most likely. If he's on your team, you have no choice. You have to start him.
So let's talk about Matt Ryan's tight end, Jacob Tamme, number 11 fantasy tight end after 4 weeks. 16 catches, 2 touchdowns. His 22 targets are good for number 7 overall. He's got a little bit of a hip injury, though. Where do you have him ranked?
Jacob Tamme, I've ranked number 16. He's been up and down this year, but he still gets those targets. I imagine he'll still get targets in this game, but I think it's going to be a tough sledding for Tamme against this Denver defense. So you could do much better if you get a guy like Dennis Pitta or you have someone like Cameron Brate.
If you have Matt Ryan, you pretty much have to start him every week, no matter what.
Yeah, especially right now.
Jones as well. On the other side of the ball, Denver's Trevor Siemian hasn't been bad. He's got a injury to his non-throwing shoulder. It's questionable. Yeah, he is supposed to play, though.
Well, if he plays, I expect Emmanuel Sanders to have a lot of targets because Siemian loves Sanders.
Right. And C.J. Anderson also been very good. He's got 3 touchdowns on the season on the ground and 1 touchdown receiving. So he's done it both ways. He's
been impressive.
He's a must start against Atlanta's number 16 rushing defense.
Absolutely. I have Anderson ranked at 4th at running back, a guy that needs to be in your lineup every week just because of the volume that he gets and the fact that he's starting to catch passes now, which is, especially in PPR leagues, his value is starting to skyrocket.
Well, I imagine if Denver gets something going on the ground, Atlanta is pretty much done for. Atlanta number 31 against the pass. They're giving up 317 yards per game. I don't think Denver will throw for 300, but with Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas out there running around, the number 10 and number 14 wide receivers, either one of those guys is a good start against a bad Atlanta pass defense.
Agreed. Both of those guys, I imagine, will have a good week. Let's just see if Denver can stay undefeated. I think it's going to be a...
Emmanuel Sanders has been obviously the better of the two. He's been targeted 42 times already, number 4 overall, so 10 to 11 targets per game. Demaryius Thomas only 27 targets. He's a little bit banged up too. He's got a hip injury. He should play though.
Yep, he's expected to play. Last time I checked, I have him ranked a little bit lower than Sanders. I got him ranked number 20, but both guys, if you have them, you're probably going to start both of them because just of the amount of opportunity and the bad defense.
Right. Against Atlanta, Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas they're both must-starts.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Looking forward to that game.
All right.
Let's move on to another defensive team, the Bengals, playing against the Cowboys.
Right. The Bengals and Cowboys.
Yeah, Dak Prescott, baby. He's been very impressive for a rookie, I have to say.
He has. And Des Bryant owners a little bit disappointed. He's got a knee injury. He is going to try to play.
Yeah, he's got that small fracture in his knee, but if he plays, I think it's hard to bench him. I know he hasn't been good, but I mean, how do you bench a guy like Des Bryant?
It's pretty hard. Cincinnati has been pretty good on defense. They're number 10 versus the pass, only 225 yards per game. Number 14 versus rush. They're the number 13 fantasy defense after 4 weeks, 9 sacks and 4 interceptions. So a bit underrated defense. This game is in Dallas, though. This will be a really close game. It's tough to pick a winner. You got to like A.J. Green, of course. You're starting him every week.
Oh, yeah.
Number 19 versus the pass and 11 versus the run. So Cincinnati running game been a little bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, Gio Bernard has been very bad.
Yeah, they haven't got it done on the ground.
It's been an Andy Dalton show lately. I like Andy this week. I have him ranked number 9. I think he's going to have a nice week against that Dallas defense.
Well, we might see Tyler Eifert.
Yeah, a guy that immediately changes that whole team if he comes back. I have Eifert ranked number 12 just because he's a little bit banged up. But if he plays, I think that's a guy you can take a risk on and start.
Well, that should open some targets up there's some catches up for the rest of the wide receiver core. Tyler Boyd, Brandon LaFell, both disappointments.
Yeah.
Only 25 catches between the two of them, no touchdowns.
LaFell was
then
ranked.
The A.J. Green show is the number 2 fantasy wideout after 4 weeks.
Yep. LaFell was the number 2 wide receiver on the team to start the league and to start the season, and he has definitely not looked like it. Eifert should be a big boost for that passing offense.
Yeah, who do you like to win this game?
I like Cincinnati in this game. I think their defense is going to step up and rattle Prescott. Geno Smith has been a monster, so I think he's going to get in Prescott's face and knock him around a little bit.
Right, and how good has Ezekiel Elliott been?
He's been fantastic.
412 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground.
He's been very good. I still have him ranked relatively high for the week. I have him ranked number 3. I just think just for the volume he gets and the goal line carries, I mean, he's doing it all for Dallas right now.
Yeah. He's starting to get the catches, too, now. He's got 6 receptions on 7 targets, although those basically happened in the past couple weeks here. It looks like here we're about to see the first half of the Arizona-San Francisco game going down here. It's 7-0 San Fran.
Well, defensive game like a lot of us envisioned.
Of course, Gabbert was just intercepted by Arizona in the red zone by Calais Campbell.
Hey, beautiful thing. I got the Arizona defense. I love that. One quick note to finish on the Dallas game. A wide receiver that I like is Cole Beasley. He's been really good for them coming out of the slot. I have him ranked number 36. I think that Cincinnati defense might eat him up a little bit, but Prescott seems to love him, and no matter what, he's going to get his targets. So you can do much worse than Cole Beasley this week.
Right, of course, you got Jason Witten, of course, who's number 14 tight end, 29 targets for both he and Beasley each. Last week we saw Bryce Butler come in, 6 receptions for 57 yards and a touchdown. And he's got 13 targets on the season already. So Bryce Butler maybe filling that role where Des Bryant would have.
Yeah, if Des Bryant's out again, maybe Butler continues to have a large role.
In deeper leagues, Bryce Butler and Terrence Williams, both wide receivers you could pick up in deeper leagues, especially on bye weeks.
Yeah, bye week replacement, absolutely. The next game on our list has got a couple bye week replacements. You get the Bills at the Rams.
Yep.
LaShawn McCoy going against Todd Gurley.
Two very good defenses. Buffalo, the number 2 fantasy defense after 4 weeks. Who'd have believed it? 13 sacks, 4 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns. The number 13 versus the run and 17th versus the pass, allowing only 96 yards per game on the ground. Todd Gurley will have his work cut out for him. Los Angeles, number 5 fantasy defense. They have 17th versus the run and 23 third versus the pass. So about equal defenses, both very good defenses. Not a lot of offense in this game.
No, I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. Case Keenum has been pretty bad for the Rams. Surprisingly, they still have a winning record. I'm just waiting to see how long it takes for them to pull the chains off of Jared Goff to get in there and toss the football around.
Right, he hasn't been ready for prime time. Case Keenum, the number 30th overall quarterback, 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. I'm not as down on Case Keenum as you are. He's got some guys to throw to now with Savon Austin, Kenny Britt, and Brian Quick. Now, Brian Quick, 3 touchdowns on the year already on 14 targets. Only 8 receptions and 3 touchdowns. A bigger receiver, someone you might want to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to see one more solid week out of him before I give him a full sell, but I think he's... a couple years ago, I was really high on him, and he kind of disappeared, but it looks like he might be back and ready for action.
Right now, the Buffalo wideouts, that's been kind of a mess. Sammy Watkins goes on injured reserve. Other than that, you've got Robert Woods, who had a little bit of a decent game last week. Somebody's got to catch the ball. They don't. Neither of these teams pass a lot. Robert Woods, I'm sure if he has 6-7 catches this week, he's going to be on the waiver wire watch next week.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get a lot of targets the rest of the year. I mean, he just happens to be their number 1 guy, and there's some value to that. Just like Tyrod Taylor's got a lot of value for running with his legs. Same reason Robert Woods is going to get a lot of targets when he can. I still like Charles Clay, the tight end in Buffalo. I don't like him this week against L.A. I have him ranked number 20, but I think the rest of the season, Charles Clay could be a sneaky start.
He's got a bit of knee injury. He's listed as questionable as we speak. On the other side, Los Angeles, Todd Gurley, would you believe it if I told you he's the number 25 running back overall after 4 weeks?
Yeah, I believe it because I have him on 2 of my teams. So, unfortunately, he's not been quite performing because teams are stacking the box against him.
Yeah, it's a shame that they don't have a better passing offense, or that he would be going nuts. So, yeah, you could. Would you consider putting together a trade package, Todd Gurley, for someone out there that you're thinking about, short a wide receiver, or need to improve your quarterback position?
I'm not trading Gurley in any of my leagues, but I will tell you that if someone offers you a trade for Gurley, sell high. I mean, sell low, and if you can get
You
Gurley,
definitely have to consider it.
yeah, someone offers you Gurley in a trade, and it's a good value, and you think it's kind of a steal. He's a guy that can have a really solid second half. The Rams' schedule is not that bad, actually, in the second half. I'm pulling it up right here just to have it in front of me. But let me tell you their matchups in the coming weeks. When you get the Bills this week, followed by the Lions, Giants, Panthers, who have been struggling, Jets, Dolphins, Saints, Patriots, Falcons, Seahawks, Niners, Cardinals. So you got some really solid matchups there in the middle of the season.
For the Rams.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Buffalo and Los Angeles defenses in this game are both really good starts this week.
Yep. Love absolutely both of them. Rams, I have ranked number 8, and Buffalo, I have ranked number 4. So both of those teams you can't go wrong with. Loving them this week.
All right.
Let's move on to the next game. Raiders at Chargers.
Fantasy gold.
Yep. Or Chargers at Raiders. I'm sorry. I said it backwards. But it is fantasy gold. It's going to be a high scoring game.
This game's in Oakland, right?
Yes, this game is in Oakland.
So, we are looking at the worst defense in the league in Oakland. Number 31 versus the rush, and number 32 versus the pass.
That's absolutely horrid.
I like everybody. On San Diego.
Yep. I mean, Travis Benjamin, Phillip Rivers, Melvin Gordon, Tyrell Williams. Yep. These are all guys that should be in your lineup because this team is going to score like probably 30, 40 points.
Oh, yeah. Yep, and San Diego, not that good on defense. They're number 7 versus the rush, though, only allowing 82 yards per game. Latavius Murray's banged up on Oakland. I think you're going to see a lot of DeAndre Washington. However, there's nothing to get excited about, really, on Oakland's backfield. We'll see. San Diego defense, number 27 versus the pass, though. Again, you might see 600-700 yards passing combined in this game. This should be a passing game extravaganza.
Yep, I love Derek Carr this week. I love Phillip Rivers. I think it's going to be a nice week for both those guys. You can get Derek Carr pretty cheap in weekly fantasy leagues. So if you need a quarterback with a lot of potential you're going to get for cheap, go with David Carr because he's going to throw a lot, and that San Diego secondary is not very good either.
Right. These guys have both been fantastic. Derek Carr, your number 4 fantasy quarterback overall, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception. Phillip Rivers, your number 9 fantasy quarterback, 7 touchdowns and 1 interception. But either one of these guys is a really good start this week.
Yep, you can't go wrong. Either one of those guys, fantastic. Phillip Rivers, I've ranked number 4. Derek Carr, number 6. Must-start guys.
Michael Crabtree is your number 5 fantasy wide receiver after 4 weeks. Who'd have thunk it?
For a guy that was drafted in the second to last round, probably, yeah, that's really impressive.
Right, 4 touchdowns on 26 receptions. Amari Cooper down at number 24. Over on the other side of the ball, San Diego, Hunter Henry is the tight end you might want to consider if you're picking him up. He might not be available anymore, but he's your number 21 fantasy tight end after 4 weeks only. I think he's only played about 1.5 games.
Yep.
Already 10 receptions and 1 touchdown. He's 14 targets are good for number 15 overall.
Yeah. I mean, he's been great when he's been on the field. I would keep that in check a little bit because you have Antonio Gates coming back once he's healthy.
I thought he might not play.
No. I'm saying I think he's probably not going to play this week. But with him coming back and his health getting a little bit better, Henry's a guy that you just got to keep an eye on to see if he's still going to get those targets once Antonio Gates is back.
Right, Melvin Gordon, your number 2 fantasy running back after 4 weeks. He's got 6 touchdowns on the ground already, 13 receptions. He's been awful good.
Yeah, he has. He really has. And it's a guy I have consistently ranked in the top 10. No different this week. I have him ranked at number 6. Expected Melvin Gordon to continue keeping things going. That Danny Woodhead injury was the best thing that could have happened to Melvin Gordon's fantasy career.
Yep, absolutely. He's a must start every week. He's a running back 1 if you have him. And now I guess we can move on. Sorry about that, Joe.
No, it's fine. We got to cover everything, so we got to keep things in check. You got the Giants.
2 games left, Sunday night and Monday night.
Yep, you got the Giants facing the Packers at Lambeau Field on Sunday night. Odell Beckham Jr. and Jordy Nelson. It's going to be a good one.
Well, you got Green Bay as number 1 against the run, only allowing 47 yards on the ground.
Ouch.
I'd stay away from any New York Giant running back.
Yeah, I didn't really want to touch him anyway, but if you have Orleans Darkwa or if you have Rashad Jennings, don't even think about starting him this week.
No, the only guy that I would think about, I know Rashad Jennings got a thumb injury, he's questionable. Bobby Rainey has got 11 targets already, he's played like 1.5 games already. He might be a sneaky play as New York is going to have to throw to win. So Odell Beckham, Sterling Shepard, Victor Cruz, these are all good starts this week, as is Eli Manning. This could be a shootout in the air, too, for Green Bay and New York.
Yeah, it might come down to who has the ball last. I think it's going to be a bit of a shootout. All those receivers are good. On the Green Bay side of the ball, I mean, Jordy Nelson has been really good. Randall Cobb, not so much. Randall Cobb has been a big disappointment this year.
Yeah, hasn't really done much. Number 77 fantasy wideout. So he was drafted, middle round. Expected big things out of him. Jordy Nelson came back and did what Jordy does. Jared Cook also expected to be pretty good as a fantasy tight end. He's taking a back seat to Richard Rodgers, and Jared Cook, ankle injury, he's out 4 to 6 weeks.
Yep, he's been terrible. I dropped him in every league that I had him. You don't really want any of the Packers tight ends right now. Not a situation you want to be involved in.
Right. Devontae Adams pretty much outshone Randall Cobb.
Yep.
He's got 2 touchdowns. Hasn't done much else, though. Only 8 catches on the year, but in the red zone, Aaron Rodgers seems to look Adams' way more than Cobb.
Yeah, it's at some point you got to throw to somebody beside Jordy, so I think Adams will come around, and so will Cobb. I think it's just a matter of time. But I don't think it's this week. I think this is going to be Jordy's game.
New York is number 9 versus the rush, only allowing 84 yards per game. So, still, Eddie Lacy still isn't that bad of a start. He's got to find the end zone soon. He still has 0 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have opportunity.
Eddie Lacy just yet. New York is good against the run, not as good as Green Bay.
Right. That's why I have Eddie Lacy ranked at number 13. Don't have any of the Giants running backs in my top 20. Orleans Darkwa is the only guy that I would even consider starting. I wouldn't touch those guys. Like you said, Bobby Rainey could be a sneaky play, but besides that, stay away.
Odell Beckham still has not found the end zone yet. 39 targets, up 5 to 7th overall. Sterling Shepard, however, had 2 touchdowns on only 26 targets. He's the number 19 fantasy wideout after 4 weeks.
Yeah, I expect Odell to get into the end zone tonight. He's been frustrated the last couple weeks, Sunday night. He's been frustrated, so I think he's going to channel everything and get the ball in the end zone. I have him ranked number 3 at wide receiver.
This would be the week. Green Bay, number 29 versus the Pats, giving up 307 yards per game. So, Odell Beckham, if you're thinking about benching, don't.
Yep.
Sterling Shepard, Victor Cruz. Sterling Shepard, a great start. Victor Cruz, an okay start, too. So this will be a game with a lot of passes thrown.
I would agree with that. It's going to be fantasy gold.
Right.
So let's move on to Monday night.
Monday night. Not the most exciting game.
It's not. You got the Buccaneers facing the Panthers with Cam Newton questionable.
You've got Cam Newton with a concussion. You got to imagine he's going to play by Monday against the division game, Tampa Bay.
I imagine he will play. I just don't know how effective he's going to be.
Cam Newton, your number 7 fantasy quarterback overall. 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 2 rushing touchdowns. Last week, though, the Carolina defense got exposed. They're still a number 9 fantasy defense overall. Number 10 versus the rush, 90 yards per game. Number 14 versus the pass, 257 yards per game. So even though Matt Ryan lit them up for 500 yards, they're still number 14 versus the pass. But still a good start against Jameis Winston, who has 8 interceptions already on the season. He's good for 2 picks a game.
Yeah, he's a bit of a gunslinger. So the Panthers, I'd still say, are a very solid defensive start. On the Buccaneers side of the ball, on the offense, Jameis Winston's a bit of a risky start, but if you're desperate, you can start him. Mike Evans, a personal favorite of yours, John. He's a target machine, and you cannot bench him.
50 targets already at number 1 overall. He's got 3 touchdowns to go along with that. He's your number 6 fantasy wide receiver after 4 weeks.
But besides that,
I'll tell you one thing, though. Tampa Bay is really missing Doug Martin.
They are.
Charleston, not doing much. Can't get anything going. He's got good fantasy numbers. However, if Tampa Bay wants to win, they throw the ball.
They do. That's why I have a little bit of a sneaky play. I've got Cameron Braid at tight end, a guy who's been getting a ton of red zone targets from Jameis Winston.
Yeah, he's got 25 targets overall, 2 touchdowns. Tied for number 6 overall among tight ends. He's definitely been a surprise.
Yeah, once Safarian Jenkins was let go, I mean, he kind of took the reins and quickly took that spot and made it his own. Cameron Braid is available in a very large amount of leagues. I picked him up this week as a bye week replacement, and who knows, he might just stick and become an every week starter for me.
This year's Gary Barnidge.
It's very true, except Barnidge doesn't exist.
Opposite of him, you've got the number 1 fantasy tight end overall, Greg Olsen. 24 receptions, 335 yards, and 2 touchdowns to go along with 40 targets, which is number 1 overall for tight ends.
Yeah, Olsen has looked good, and he's been all over the field. So obviously, if you have Olsen, you're starting him no matter what.
Greg Olsen, very good as usual. Had him last year, couldn't acquire him this year. On the defensive side of the ball, Tampa Bay, number 29 fantasy defense overall. The number 12 versus the rush, only 96 yards per game. Number 15 versus the pass, though. So they're better than you think. They've got 9 sacks, 1 interception, and 1 touchdown. So Tampa Bay defense, not a bad play if you're looking for a defense.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a bye week, you need some help, you can do much worse than Tampa Bay.
So I got a question for you. Carolina backfield. Who do you start?
It's not a good question. Jonathan Stewart made his first appearance in a while at practice this week, but he was not wearing pads. Cameron Artis-Payne is the starter for now, but I would not even touch him. I just think he didn't play at all this season until last week, and he's still shaking the rust off. I don't want to touch that backfield right now.
Yeah, I don't like this game overall. It's hard to predict the winner in this one. I went with Carolina at home, and you still have Kelvin Benjamin. He's been pretty good. 4 touchdowns already after 4 weeks and 29 targets. The Carolina running game, though, is not good.
No.
If Cam Newton's not playing, you're looking at Derek Anderson.
Yep, if you have Cam and you're waiting to start Cam and he doesn't play, you need to have Derek Anderson on your roster because otherwise You'll be stuck without a quarterback.
Yep. So you might be rostering 3 quarterbacks this week if you're a Cam Newton owner.
Yeah, but if you're going to take that risk on Newton, you have to be prepared.
Other than that, Ted Ginn Jr. and Corey Brown really haven't done much. Neither has Vincent Jackson or Adam Humphrey. So really your only options there, Mike Evans and Kelvin Benjamin. 2 really big wide receivers. I think both of them find the end zone this weekend.
Yep, same thing. I think both tight ends will probably score in that game as well.
Absolutely. This looks like a chalk game as far as fantasy.
Agreed. We covered all the games this week, but every week there's that one surprise guy, one guy that's gonna blow up and kind of take the world by storm. Who's that guy for you this week, John? Do you have anyone that you think's gonna kind of burst onto the scene?
I think this week it's Julian Edelman.
Yeah.
This week against Cleveland with Brady back. I think you're going to see an 11-catch game, 100 yards and a touchdown. And then with Philadelphia and Detroit, I like Jordan Matthews to surprise. The big targets. Detroit is banged up in the secondary. You might see a touchdown, close to 100 yards out of Jordan Matthews.
Yep, I would agree with that sentiment. My surprise player of the week, I'm just going to go with one guy that I think is really going to go off, and I think Eddie Royal is going to have a game against the Colts. I think he's going to go easily over 100 yards and score 2 touchdowns. So that's my prediction for the upcoming week.
And I'd like to throw in one more. I think Randall Cobb finds the end zone this week against the Giants defense.
Heck, he's due. He might as well.
He's well overdue.
Yes, sir. But that about does it for the Fantasy Football Goon podcast for Week 5 of the NFL season 2016. Make sure you check us out on www.fantasyfootballgoon.com. Send us a tweet at FFBGoon, and then visit us on Facebook and give us a like. We appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, John, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Joe.
And we'll be back here next week to cover everything in Week 6 and hopefully help you guys get a big W in fantasy land.